So hi everyone, welcome to this simple instructional video on how to grow microgreens. We're gonna grow 3 different varieties today: sunflower, peas, and radish daikon. This is our sunflower, the middle ones are our peas, and the third one is our radish daikon. Next we're gonna need a scale. This is just a regular store-bought scale. We need some soil to grow our microgreens in, and trays. One of them hold and one of them without hold, which I'm trying to indicate here. So we're gonna put our hold tray in our non-hold tray. Next, we're gonna measure out some seeds. This is our radish. Then we're also gonna need some sunflower and our peas. So radish, sunflower, and peas. Our peas and sunflowers we've soaked for 12 hours because the seeds are kind of tougher. Next, we're gonna measure out our soil. So I'm just gonna ladle 1 liter of soil in our cup, and we're gonna do this twice because we need 2 liters of soil in our trays. Just gonna measure that out and spread it out. Also gonna take the second spoonful, so the second liter, beautiful. And now spread it out again in our tray. Just trying to loosen up any clumps we might have, and then press it down so we have a nice even surface. Alright, this means we are ready for our seeds. We want to spread them out as evenly as possible, and yeah, next we're going to spritz them with our spritzer and we want to get the ground moist. That is the idea. Just taking our second tray and pressing down. Next we have our sunflower seeds, which we soaked for 12 hours, not 10. We're gonna need a bowl and a strainer to strain our sunflower seeds. So we're just gonna take them and pour them through the strainer to get off any excess water we still might have on them. Growing 3 different trays today, 1 mixed one and 2 whole ones. So we have to measure out how much of a ratio of sunflower we need for our whole one. And because our sunflower is expanded in the water, we're gonna multiply them times 0.75 because that's the ratio of sunflower we're gonna need for our whole tray. The rest is for the mixed one. So we're just gonna measure out our soil for a whole tray. This would be 1 liter. I'm just pouring it in and already pouring the second one, so you don't have to watch me ladle it again. I'm gonna spread it out to get it as even as possible, break off any clumps I might have, and press it down, make some music with it, clap, spread out the sunflower seeds, try to get it as even as possible, and finally press it down like this. So as mentioned, we're gonna grow a mixed tray today, which is a bit of an experiment and we haven't tried it before, but we're gonna try it anyways. 3 different varieties. We have pea, sunflower, and radish daikon, just to have something more interesting to give our clients. First, we're just gonna strain our peas, and we don't have to measure them out because we're just growing them in the mixed tray, so we don't have to calculate any ratio whatsoever. So we have peas, sunflower, and now we're just measuring out our daikon, which we haven't soaked, so we don't need to account for any change in weights that happen through the soaking up of water. So we're just gonna measure out 1/3 of the radish seed we would usually use, which in our case is gonna be 13 grams. Beautiful. So here we have our 3 seeds. So what we actually gonna wanna do next is prepare another tray. So we're just gonna pat down the soil. We already prepared it. And now we're just measuring out our peas. And we really wanna try to get an even border so it looks nice in the end. So I try to align them as pretty as possible. And next our sunflower, we're also gonna try to align them again so we have very clear borders. We needed some more radish because it wasn't enough. And now we're just gonna water them. And I'm gonna water the sunflower and peas more and the radish not as much. So this is looking beautiful in my opinion. Also just gonna press it down with all the other trays we prepared already. So now we're just gonna leave them covered for the next 5 days by the weight of the other trays we put on top of them. The only thing we have to do is water them around 2 times a day. So welcome back. It is day 5 of our microgreen grow, and I already uncovered them yesterday. Since I didn't have time to film, I'm gonna repeat the same process I did yesterday today, so you can see how I did that. So as you could probably guess, this is our mix tray because it is kind of tilted. We can see the radish poking through from the side here, and that is just because we uncovered it yesterday already. So the plants are way more upright than they should be. If they do look a bit more crooked and pressed down in your case, that's just because I uncovered it yesterday. So our peas, here we can see our sunflowers, and finally our radish, which is the most upright already. So what we want to do now actually is take our tray, which was pressed down before to simulate earth on top of our seeds, and flip it around so we can put our tray into blackout. This is going to help elongate our stems, and it really doesn't matter if you have a few sprouts looking through on the side. Radish is just very prone to doing that. Alright, so let's look at our second tray. These are our sunflowers. We're just gonna pop the lid to see what they look like. And don't worry if these are looking yellow. All our sprouts are looking yellow, and this is just because we haven't introduced them to the light yet. And that's not an issue. What is an issue though is mold issues, which we had because we did have quite a hot climate. I'm in Vienna in summer and it's very hot. And what you can do to remedy that is actually take a mixture of water and hydrogen peroxide. And what you want to do is take 1 tablespoon of that and mix that with 1 liter of water, and that can help to remedy some of the issues with fungi. I already spritzed it, so I'm not going to do it again. I'm just showing you how it works. You just want to give it 1 nice spritz, not too much, or your leaves might get burned. The only thing left to do now with them is to take our second tray, flip it around to put them into blackout. And we're done. Alright, so we're already at our last tray. This is our radish, our third grow, and it's looking the best of all of them. So we're just gonna uncover it to see what it looks like. Again, leaves are yellow, but what you might notice actually is that when going closer to the sides of the tray, the leaves are green because they have been poking through and absorbing some of the sunlight, which turned them green. So the only thing which you want to do now is, like with the other trays, you just take the covering tray, and we're going to use it to again introduce them to blackouts. So we're just going to flip it around like we did with all the others. Again, we have some poking through, but that's totally okay. What we will have to do is water them, like I'm indicating here, but we do not need any antifungal because we don't have any mold issues. What you will have to do eventually though is, once you see roots growing, like I'm showing you here, you will have to start bottom watering. And these roots are poking through the whole tray around day 3, 4 or 5. So as soon as you see those roots, we can take just a mug of water with around 300 to 400 milliliters and pour that in the tray. And the idea here really is to put enough water in so the little dents at the bottom are nearly covered with water. Next, we're just taking our tray with the sprouts and putting it in the water, and finally covering it with our top tray so we can introduce them into blackout. Again, keep in mind you have to water all of these around 2 times a day to keep them as good looking as they are now. So tomorrow we will probably introduce these to the light and take the cover off to stop the growing of the stem, because we can see the stems are already quite long. So we're just gonna give them 1 more day of blackouts, and yeah, see you then. So we're back on day 6 of our microgreen grow, and this is our mix tray and it's looking beautiful. We can see that the radish continued to grow quite large, so it's already the longest of all of them. We did have some issues with the sunflower again. There was mold, that was taking more and more of the tray. You might see that the leaves are looking kind of crooked. Also with the peas, we have a little bit of mold issues. So what we're going to do now is actually take our hydrogen peroxide mixture and just give it a big, not a big, a little spritz all over to remedy some of those issues. Because this tray is very moist already, we're not gonna water it anymore. so we can check that with the finger it's not moist. So we're gonna introduce it to the light now, but let's look at the other trays first. So this is our second tray, our pure sunflower tray, and again we did have some issues with mold because we did leave it a bit too moist. You can see that the leaves are a bit burnt and there's mold at the bottom, but that's hard to see with your bare eyes. So what you can do to measure moisture levels is to take your finger and poke it in the soil, and perfect conditions are if your finger is poking in and not pushing out any excess water out of the soil. So this is our last tray, our radish, and in my opinion the prettiest looking one. If we take a close look at them, we can again see that the leaves are still yellow, but that's okay. There's also little radicals, so that's little sprouts that haven't been able to hatch to the soil and have been carried up by the other ones, but that really doesn't matter. So now I'm setting up the lights. First I was trying to just use one light, but eventually I noticed that one light is not going to be enough, but I'm trying to align it as perfectly as possible, so we're really just getting the best exposure to light. So we're setting up our sunflowers again, and now I'm definitely noticing that one light is not enough. So now I'm just setting up the last light, which is our second one, and you see that the middle tray is sharing two lights, but that's okay. We just want an even distribution of light. I set them up on kind of an angle, and now everything is well illuminated and looking very pretty, to say the least. So we got our radish, our sunflower, and our mixed tray. So our peas, our sunflower, and our radish. And again, because all of them have enough water already, we're not gonna water any of them anymore. Maybe we're gonna spritz our peas with a bit of hydrogen peroxide mixture, but that's it. So welcome back to day 9 of our microgreen grow. Sorry for the bad lighting conditions, by the way. Our radishes are looking beautiful. They turned fully green now, and we can see this tall, just beautiful uniform growth. And also on the side, you can see that it really did grow very tall. And yeah, so let's look at our other tray. This is our mixed one, and you can see those beautiful tendrils of the peas. Chefs just really love these because they just look amazing when plating. The only experiment which didn't really work out was our sunflower tray, because which you already noticed probably, we did have major issues with mold, and also a hydrogen peroxide mixture was too heavily concentrated. So you can see that the leaves got kind of burnt, but don't worry, the measurements I gave you in this video were actually correct. So 1 tablespoon of hydrogen peroxide to 1 liter of water definitely is not going to burn your plants. I just happened to use way too much. But that's okay, since we did learn something from it. Next time, we're not going to use as high a concentration of hydrogen peroxide. And I think also part of the issue was just the hot climate we have in Vienna right now. It has around 31 to 34 degrees Celsius, which, believe me, is not just a very uncomfortable environment to live in, but an even harder environment to grow in. Because a hot climate like that is really just a breeding ground for mold issues, and that ultimately was just what we happened to encounter. So let's look at our mixed tray, and I just wanted to mention that I already harvested the radish because it was looking the prettiest, kind of something like we had in the middle tray. Now we also did have mold issues here. I don't know if you can see it. I'm gonna flip it around so you can see what the mold issues look like. Again, burnt leaves. I even had to physically remove part of the tray because the mold was getting really bad. But the peas did look nice, so here's another shot of that. So concluding, I'd say that our takeaway from all of this is to not use as high a concentration of hydrogen peroxide, and of course that it's okay to make mistakes. Because if it doesn't work this week, you can always try again next week. Even though we did have some issues, this doesn't mean that we can't approach chefs. And because I'm recording this voiceover in the aftermath of all of this, I already did approach some chefs, and I'm gonna talk more about that in my upcoming videos. For now, this video, I know it was a bit all over the place, but the idea really was just to kind of take you through my process of growing microgreens, even if it maybe wasn't the best instructional video, because I did leave out some of the measurements and didn't show you the final harvest and all of this. I think it was important to just kind of show you what I'm doing, and yeah. So for chefs, I'm really just passing out the radish and some of the peas I have, but I will talk more about that in next week's video. I'm still not quite sure what it is gonna be about. It's either gonna be an update or a video about legal requirements for starting a microgreens business in Austria, and I think also this would apply to most countries in Europe or in the European Union. I might also do another video on growing microgreens, this time on hemp mats, because we did have some issues this time. I think also part of it was the grow medium we used. I used a grow mix I got from a local grow shop, which is a shop specifically for buying weed growing supplies. Of course, we're not smoking any weed here, at least not on video. And yeah, but they do have great hydroponic stuff, so still great shop, 10 out of 10 would recommend. So yeah, we will try growing on hemp mats and see how that turns out. With that, this pretty much was the bulk of the video. I know, as I said, it has been quite chaotic and the lighting changed several times over the course of this video. This just was because I've never made one of these binging with Babish type videos. Also with voiceovers, I've never done voiceovers, but I hope this is alright. I'm still figuring things out, and yeah. If this video didn't tell you anything about microgreens, at least I hope it taught you something about that mistakes are okay to make. And with that, I hope to see you next week in my next video. Bye.